So let's do a video on organizing because I don't feel like I do that enough. So today's video is going to be about organizing your thoughts and what to do if you I was going to say if someone else, but it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. So we'll stick with if you think you're scatterbrained, meaning your thoughts are kind of everywhere. You've got a million things to do. Maybe it's not even you. Maybe it's just that you have a lot of different moving parts in your life that you need to maintain balance with. You may find yourself taking notes all the time, or like trying to store things mentally, but then you forget. So basically I'm going to informally talk about two different ways of organizing your ideas. Now, this is something that I have only recently, within the past few years, started to do. Once I found that I have all these moving pieces, and this one organizing business that I began working on almost 5 years ago. Yeah, it's grown, and it was never going to be, I don't know. I can't say it was never going to be about just one thing, because it just sort of happened organically. I didn't even know that there was a huge market for organizers in New York. But yeah, so as my ideas about what I want to do in business kind of grew and took on different parts and phases that I wanted to put the business through and expand it in different directions, I started to need to keep track of my thoughts in ways that I hadn't before, because I've been very, very good about remembering things, about kind of mentally organizing things, just storing things in my brain so that I can recall them. And I know exactly where this detail is that I prompted myself to remember on this date and this and that. I used to be really, really good about that. Now there's a lot going on, and a lot that I have planned. And yeah, even my sleeping pattern, changes in my sleeping pattern have led to, sometimes sleep is very important to memory. And, remember this. I know we're talking about memory, and I'm telling you to remember this. Write this down if you have to. But one of the reasons I talk to my clients a lot about sleep is because your brain actually encodes information and stores it while you sleep, and that's why it's critical. So while you may feel like you only need 5 hours, and I've gotten really bad about either staying up too late, or if I can't get to sleep, not really trying to plan to go to bed earlier because, I'm good with just 5 hours. If I need to do just 3 hours, I can do that and come home and take a nap. Yeah, I might get 8 hours in total if I, sleep a few hours, do what I have to do, then, take a 3-hour nap or 4-hour nap later. But it interrupts the process of your brain encoding information. And, so yeah, if you are struggling with your memory and you don't sleep well, those two issues may very well be linked. So, yeah, but that's kind of a tangent. Whether you sleep well, whether you don't, whether you have a great memory, I still highly recommend, storing things you need to remember and, preserving details in writing. Or you could do it, now that I'm thinking about it, off the cuff, you can also do it by making voice notes. Since most of us have smartphones now, voice notes are really easy. I've not tried this technique. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it and report back, but I don't know if I want to listen to my voice played back to me repeatedly. I don't know. We'll think about that. But the two methods that I want to talk to you about are using your phone for note-taking, and obviously using paper. Some people are more inclined to use journals, planners, things like that, while others just want to use technology because it's quick and easy and you're not carrying around all this paper. Paper gets heavy, right? So actually writing things down physically with pen, pencil, whatever, and paper helps me learn better. It helps me remember things better. I've actually been experimenting with that lately because I've had some other projects I'm working on that have required me to learn some new things and eventually do some testing and stuff, but more on that later. So yeah, that is absolutely my best way of taking notes and learning, but I don't always feel like getting up to get a journal or reaching in a bag to get a notepad, a notebook, or whatever. Right now I have several different notebooks that I have plans for. A couple of them I've been using, but most of them I haven't really. One of them I'm actually using for like the purpose I just mentioned, for like learning and studying and note-taking. But others I have set aside for ideas, and that's what I'm getting at. You need to be able to capture your ideas, and it's okay if you're kind of a scatterbrained person. You don't have to be overly structured with it, and this is something I've recently learned. First of all, the idea came to me because I don't know, like listening to TED Talks and presentations by entrepreneurs and innovators, and also having known some people, especially coders, people in tech, really smart people, just like an assortment of smart people. They keep a notebook, or I even knew one person who had like a dry erase notepad. This person was into like computer programming and building apps and things like that. But yeah, like other people, like outside of tech, whatever, successful entrepreneurs, I started to notice a common thread among them, that they all valued their ideas, like the random ideas you have. You know how like you're in one place, but you think of something that is beneficial somewhere else, or it might not be beneficial, or appear to be beneficial at first, but you think to yourself, oh, I can file this away, or I just really like this idea. So when you get good ideas that you really like, it's good to write those down. So I eventually came to embrace that train of thought, and I started using Evernote. And right now Evernote is my go-to. I have it on my phone. I have it on a tablet. I think I had it on a laptop, but I don't use that laptop anymore. But you can sync it across devices. You can, oh my goodness, like you can save things from the web, kind of like Pinterest. You can, I think it might even take voice notes. You can set reminders in it. You can just take like regular notes. So it's got like these digital notebooks within it. You can use just like one notebook and write everything there. You can separate it. For me, I separate it by projects I'm working on, and even by business ideas. Oh, I have so many notebooks now. It's grown so much within the past like 6 months. But because I still do my own social media management, which I plan to outsource this year because it's just gotten to be so much. Even though it doesn't look like I'm doing a ton of stuff on social media, even that, like, it's a lot of work. But yeah, all of that, I have like digital notebooks for it because, you know, as I said before, writing is better for me if I'm taking in new information. If it's an idea that I have, I don't necessarily have to write it physically. It's okay for me to use a digital format, especially if it's not something that's urgent, or something I'm trying to memorize. Really, physically writing helps me with memory. It helps me with planning, actually. So in my Facebook group, I would post my itineraries that I would make for myself every day. And I commented in the group that I started doing that on a computer because I needed a digital format that I could post to the group. Also because I made templates that I shared with group members. And but that really wasn't how I would naturally do that sort of thing. Like, and so at one point I was doing both. I would write down, plan out the next day at night, sit down, plan it out, write it down on paper, and then type whatever I've written into my digital planner. Because I didn't want to just take a picture of the page and upload it. So yeah, so writing is valuable for me in those ways. And also with that, there's an element of memory because I kind of want to remember things I need to do the next day, the order in which I envision it ideally taking place, all that stuff, so that I can hopefully replicate it the next day. But as far as just ideas that would be great for me to post on social media, business ideas, things that I, like want to research, those things I can write down digitally, and I use Evernote for them. So that's one way, Evernote. And the second way I've already mentioned, just journaling. If you are a writer, especially if you're like visually inclined in terms of like arts and crafts and things, I know I've talked about bullet journaling before. That was like my first foray into getting serious about using a planner or a journal, because bullet journaling is whatever you make it. And while I am a very visual person, when it comes to bullet journaling, which I don't do anymore because it time consuming, but people who like it don't find it to be too time consuming. They really love it. I will say that. And I like it. I just don't have time for it right now. But what I do like, for me, I love looking at other people's artistic spreads that they would do when they're designing their weekly planner pages and the monthly layout and, habit trackers. So a bullet journal is essentially just like a blank journal, and you can make of it literally whatever you want. And I love that because for me, I grew up using agendas and planners that were pre-printed by someone else. And those were fine. But as an adult, I just kind of, I don't know, like, I needed my own layout, my own format, or I would always like write outside the margins and things like that. And so bullet journaling allowed, there would be pages that I just didn't need or didn't use at all. So bullet journaling, it's literally blank. You do the layout however you want. You can do it as you go. And what you do as you add a new page or a new section, you set aside, in the very beginning, you set aside the first few pages as index pages, and you keep adding to the index every time you create something new in the journal. So let's say you do a monthly layout for July. Presumably, unless you're getting started in July, then that might be like your first page or something, or like, probably not your first, like your third page or something, because you need room for an index. Some people create like kind of a monthly to-do list before they do the actual layout for the month or the week or whatever. What I'm saying is, let's say July is the first thing you create. You then go back to the index pages you've set aside at the very front of your journal, and you put page 5, July, layout begins, or you don't have to say begins, but July monthly layout. Basically, you create the table of contents as you go, so you can always go back and remember where the stuff you created begin and end in the journal. And so that was for me because it's completely malleable, it's flexible, it's literally whatever you want it to be. And so that was cool and all. I was more of an analog, digital, or bullet journalist, whatever the word for that is, person who does bullet journals. And the analog layouts were really neat. But these were more so people who do these don't necessarily have to draw out a grand illustration, because a lot of people who are into bullet journaling are into arts and crafts, and they're into drawing, they're learning to draw, they're into like stencils and things like that, and they create these beautiful spreads and designs throughout their journal. I would just do like it was very linear, let's say modern-y looking, very minimalist. Yeah, like for me, the words and numbers and things are more important, and I would maybe like, do some things with like lines and whatever. Partly because I kind of like a clean look, and also because I just didn't have time to do illustrations. I tried it. I got some stickers and things to put in there, and yeah. So, but I don't bullet journal anymore. I use the calendar on my phone a lot because I'm always going to have my phone with me unless I've misplaced it, which I should hopefully never do. And I use Evernote. That's become my go-to. But okay, so bullet journaling, let's say you're not into any of the digital stuff, or you're marginally into the digital stuff the way I'm marginally into bullet journaling. But you like paper. So you can have notebooks. Even if it's just a tiny notepad that you keep in a pocket, in a bag you always have with you, just something, some sort of receptacle for your thoughts will make a world of difference. And then, you know, you can organize and put dividers in that notebook or that little spiral journal, whatever, from the outset. Or you can go back when you're reviewing the things you've written down and organize them into sections that way. There's like every type of notebook, you know, some you can, that have like the binder type rings. I have a small traveler's notebook that's got binder rings, and removable pages, all sorts of things you can work with, or you can just do like a spiral notebook that, you know, everyone presumably grew up with. At least in this country, most people have used or needed a spiral notebook at one point in their life. Yeah, so just like keep something with you so that you can record your thoughts, so you can record your brilliant ideas, so you can plan on the go. You know, when you have some idle minutes, you can do kind of some problem solving in your head and write things down. You know, let's say you're waiting in line somewhere, but you're also figuring out what you want to have for dinner. Or, you know, planning your menu for the week, whatever. Those things come in handy, and you'll find that your life starts to flow a lot smoother because, like, this is what prompted me to make this video, actually. Today or maybe it was yesterday, I was working on, actually, technically it's 1 a.m., so today kind of, or yesterday kind of is still today to me, or I don't know, whatever. I was working on something, and yeah, so I was actually in Evernote and I was doing some planning, and I had gotten some good ideas about things I'd like to do, and created a new notebook. And it just occurred to me that like, I've always known this about myself, but it kind of occurred to me how it made more sense. So to me, I say all the time that I'm really not an extreme type A person, or probably, I don't know, I have my type A things that I'm very particular about, but by and large, I'm very laid back. I'm not really type A, but I understand how that works. So I'm in the middle, and that's how I'm able to help a lot of different people with their organizing. I can help type A's become more efficient, fine-tune the systems for organizing they have in place, and I can help the polar opposite person get some structure to their life. So yeah, the way things work for me, and I'm pretty sure there's other people in the world that things kind of work this way for them as well. Ideas, plans come to me organically. They come to me in pieces. They don't necessarily come in order. And in my mind, it's kind of like I sort the pieces out and put them together in order, like after they arrive, after the ideas come to me. Like, I don't necessarily just sit down and make a list from A to Z. I probably hardly ever do that. As far as like visionary, like envisioning my life, and my business and things like that. Like, I don't know that it's ever been like that. Or, I mean, when I was going through school, that was already, you know, like there's already kind of a path that's generally set forth. So that was, I could do that, you know, okay, you know, this year I want to do this, and then in 4 years I want to go, you know, be doing this in high school, like whatever. But life is not like that. And so I created this video because I wanted to say that, like, just because you're not a person who sits down and does things in order, or who thinks in order, doesn't mean you can't be organized. So what makes the reason that is not chaotic for me is because I have a system in place for collecting these ideas, collecting the data I need to then make a plan. And that's what these receptacles are for. For me, it's the Evernote. For you, it might be Notebooks or Evernote or some other app that you're using to gather your ideas so that you can look at them, put them down in front of you, and then put them in the order that makes sense for you. So yeah, that's basically the moral of this video. And even the way this video came together was not how I originally planned it, and organically. Like, I ideally would have like said my purpose in making it in the beginning, but I gave you all these different techniques. Well, not all, just these two main strategies, and mention these couple tools that can help you implement these strategies, all to sort of come full circle and say that it's okay if you are not a person who just like sits down and does things from A to Z, or even from Z to A. But if you go around in circles a little bit, as long as you are tracking your steps, as long as you are keeping some sort of log of what you're doing, what you're thinking, you know, as long as like, there's a method to your brainstorming, let's say, there's a method to gathering, your ideas, then you'll be okay, because you know where to go to find them. You know where you're collecting all the information that you'll use to make your decisions. And it's a matter then of just reviewing everything you have, like all the thoughts that have come to you about a particular subject or whatever the case may be, whether you're building a schedule, whether you're planning a business, whether you're growing a business, whether you're choosing a school to go to. Gather all your data, all your information in one place, and then sit down in front of it. And then from there, you can start to put things in order. And if you're a person who's prone to anxiety, I think that'll help relieve your anxiety a little bit, because it creates a sense of space and an element of calm, because you've got things right in front of you for you to kind of look at, versus having to constantly juggle things around in your head or sit and try to force things in order when you don't have the full picture yet. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope it helps. Check out my other videos on organizing. I have some other content on this channel too, obviously, just like general stuff, current events, TV shows, whatever. That's kind of how this channel is evolving, and I guess I'm going to let it, until I decide that otherwise it makes sense. Until I decide to do otherwise. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so please comment below if you want to hear me talk about some certain topics that'll help you get more organized, more inspired, or that'll just be fun. Leave that in the comments. Like my videos, please. Subscribe. I'm losing my voice. Subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care and be well. Bye now.